Welcome back. You're still tuned in to News and Views with myself, Salalo Makwidi. We've come to the back end of the show, and we're going to be heading or staying with the Middle East rather after that very, very insightful and very, very important conversation with Jerusalem based social commentator and activist Jalal Khater. We're talking about the Israeli leadership's expanding its invasion, voting to expand its invasion in Gaza. But yeah, tensions in the Middle East are once again on the knife's edge. Over the weekend, Israeli fighter jets launched a powerful wave of airstrikes on the Yemeni port city of Hodeidah, targeting what it claims are Iranian-linked Houthi facilities. This comes after a rare and successful missile strike by the Houthis on Israel's Ben Gurion International Airport, marking a dramatic escalation in cross-border hostilities. Yemen's Houthi rebels have now vowed to impose a full air blockade on Israel, promising more attacks on its airports. But what does this mean for Yemen, a country already shattered by war? And how are ordinary Yemenis processing their country's growing role in this regional conflict and genocide, essentially, against the people of Gaza? And joining us right now to give us more insights, especially when it comes to the feel on the ground, is the Yemeni journalist Mohammed Al-Rumim. Mohammed, assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah so much for giving us your time this morning. Really, really appreciate you giving us your time.
Alaikum salam. Good morning, dear friend. I'm happy to be with you in Salami this
Mm,
day.
the
Okay.
pleasure's all ours. I think if we can kickstart the conversation by maybe you giving us a sense of what the situation on the ground is like right now in Yemen, especially in the aftermath of these Israeli strikes on Hodeidah and Bajil.
Uh, Firstly, yeah, Israeli strikes has been, it started since maybe more than 1 month on Yemeni provinces and regions. Uh, Unfortunately, most of the victims of Yemenis and sites are civil sites and civil people,
Mm,
not as they say they shot Houthi leaders and Houthi interests. Yesterday, uh, Israeli strikes shot a factory of cement in Belgium. It's a factory produces cement for building. So, is it this a site of Houthi, military site? No, it is kind of a Yemeni structure that give interest or and also benefits for Yemeni people, not for Houthis. This is what
mm,
happened. And last week also Isa Haid or Isa Valley in Hodeidah, this oil region was I mean, seriously hurt by Israeli strikes.
mm, mm, mm. Um, I want to touch a bit on the reaction and the feel on the ground when it comes to these recent attacks. This is, I think, one of the few attacks that we've seen in a very, very long time. It marks one of the first major Israeli strikes in Yemen in several months. How are the Yemenis people interpreting these attacks? Are they seen purely as a response to the missile fired into Tel Aviv, or as part of a broader regional escalation by Israel and their quest to ultimately take over the region?
By the way, Yemeni people, Yemeni nation condemns such Israeli strikes on Yemeni interest or Yemeni infrastructure. Uh, uh, Away of any reasons or away of Houthi, war crimes against Yemeni people. But really, most of Yemenis condemn such strikes and reject such strikes on Yemeni regions and on Yemeni civilians as Israeli targeted civilians and Yemeni interests. Yemenis, they are not, they didn't agree such attacks on their homeland. Uh, maybe 90% of Yemenis suffer from Houthi war crimes and from Houthi uh, deeds against Yemeni people. Houthi made a political coup in 2014, but this not uh, uh, give the right for I mean, Israeli strikes to attack Yemen, uh,
mm,
or pretending that Houthi targeted ships in the Red Sea. This is
mm,
what Lebanese think about these attacks.
mm, No, definitely. I want to touch on the Houthis. They've warned of a comprehensive air blockade on Israel and promised continued attacks on airports like the Ben Gurion. Um, how significant is this rhetoric, and do the Houthis have the capacity to sustain such a threat? To make sure that they see through this threat that they're making, that they're gonna have a complete air blockade on Israel.
Yeah, I think this is just a big joke said by Houthis. You know that many years ago, uh, Iran regime from uh, Iraq country attacked the uh, Aramco, oil factory in Saudi Arabia. By the attack was done by Iran regime from Iraq,
Mm,
and the Houthi, recognized that uh, they did this attack. Instead of Iran, this is something done by Iran and uh, their military arm. I think Iran can do this thing that Houthis say, but Houthis cannot do such thing
mm,
because it is a big distance from Israel to Yemen, and Iran maybe I think that the rockets that shot Israeli sides is done by Iran, but Houthi uh, who recognized instead of Iran. This is the real story.
mm, mm, mm. Um, how do ordinary Yemenis people, especially those that are not aligned with the Houthis, feel about being drawn into a conflict between Israel and Iranian aligned groups? Are they, those that are saying we should be staying out of this situation, or they see it as a just cause because of what we are seeing in Gaza, and saying, well, all of the Arab nations around the Middle East have seemingly, took a stance of not being involved, ultimately leaving the people of Gaza and the people of Palestine to fend for themselves. Is that the rhetoric, or are they saying we should be staying out of this one because you don't want a situation where there's a ground invasion of Yemen like we've seen in Gaza, and the Houthis become a Hamas of some sort?
You know, all Yemenis denounce what's happening in Gaza by a terrorist Israeli regime against people in Gaza. There were war crimes uh, uh, done by Israeli uh, forces against Gaza. From 2 years or 3 years ago. All Yemenis are in solidarity with the Gaza people. Yeah, but Houthis look at this. I mean, war crime against Gaza from one angle. Yeah, uh, Houthis would like to make themselves they are the savers of poor people, of people in Gaza. You know that
Mm,
Shia arm who were in Syria, they committed war crimes against civilians in Syria, also in Lebanon by Hezbollah. The same did war crimes against civilians in Lebanon. So I think the conflict between Houthi and Israeli regime is just a fake by Houthis to make his name high in the area to over to make them able to control all the sites and as they are heroes in the region.
mm, mm. No,
This is
definitely.
what most Yemenis, this is what most Yemenis knows about because uh, Houthi regime or Houthi rebels, yeah, and Israeli terrorists, they do the same war crimes against civilians. Houthi committed war crimes against Yemenis, while Israeli regime committed war crimes against civilians in Gaza and in Palestine in general.
No, definitely. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, Brother Mohammed. Just so much for giving us your time. And I think as the situation unfolds, we'll be catching up with you to get the latest on the ground in Yemen and to get the full details of these attacks and ultimately how they shape Yemen.
Again, please.
Okay. No, I'm just saying, Jazakallah so much. We're wrapping up. Jazakallah so much. Really appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you very much.
There you go,
You are
Mohammed Al-Rumim, Yemeni journalist, giving us the latest on the ground when it comes to the escalation of tensions between Apartheid Israel as they target Yemen after those Houthi attacks. We have some comments here. Abdul Razak Ishmailov saying Europe beats everyone over the head with international law and imposed the harshest sanctions in history on Russia because of the war in Ukraine, while Ansar Allah are the only ones carrying out the obligations of international law to blockade ships transiting to and from the fascist Israel entity. Meanwhile, all European leaders are at best silent or call the Ansar Allah resistance as terrorists. And I think, well, that's a story we all know too well. When freedom fighters, when those that are fighting injustice are presented as terrorists, we know it too well here in South Africa. When Nelson Mandela and the ANC, they themselves were also labeled terrorists at some point by the world. I think it was only in the early 2000s when Nelson Mandela was removed from the CIA terrorist list. So, yeah, I think that's a story we know too well. But it's going to be interesting to see how this one unfolds and, most importantly, how the countries in the Middle East react to this. Are they going to continue distancing themselves? I think Iran came out and said, well, they had nothing to do with those attacks by the Houthis on Israel. They acted on their own accord. So we are seeing the first layers of that. We're going to take a quick break. Thank you. We're going to leave it here for now. I'm sorry. It has been another insightful edition of News and Views with myself, Salalo Makudir. We'll be back with you again on Wednesday for the midweek edition of the show. But for myself, Salalo, and the rest of the team, is Shap Shap. See you again tomorrow.